Crystal Tower information, Whiskey 2153 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on over tower, roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Departure 71143, flying flag, runway 28 left, quick takeoff, left hand southbound first.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure, have your flight.
Welcome, everyone, to this special episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. I am Jim. Joining with me tonight are my hosts, Maddie.
Hello.
And the one and only Badger Pilot.
Hello.
You got to sound way more excited than that. We are just days away from Airventure 2024, and this is a really special episode. So I need you to really bring it tonight.
Hello.
That sounds like when someone's going to, try to make an echo in a cave or something. Hello.
Hello. Well, we may not have sounded too excited, but I can tell you, I am very excited for Oshkosh this year. Not only to be back up there, but to be a part of the crew, a part of the team this year. And one of the things we've been doing for the last few years, and I say we, one of the things you guys have been doing for the last few years, and you were kind enough to bring me on as a part of it, is the now third annual Airventure call-in Extravaganza Extraordinaire Catalina wine mixer.
You forgot spectacular.
So we do have a really, spectacular. Yeah, exactly. We have a combination of some repeat call-in listeners and a couple of new guests as well that were kind enough to join us. So I'm really excited. I know you guys are too, and hopefully this episode will help get our listeners even more excited, if that's possible, for Airventure.
I always think this is a fun episode to record because it's always fun to bring in our listeners and have them be part of the conversation. So before we even start, I want to say thanks to all the listeners and former guests who participated in this episode to make it possible. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
As always. So we're really excited to have Badger on the other side of the mic this time. Last time, he was trailing behind the mic like a lost puppy. So
That's a very specific example, Maddie.
Can you crop up my so?
It's also very true, though.
It felt like a little lost badger. He trailed along with us. And as we ran across the entire length of Airventure multiple times trying to get interviews and sweating our little rear ends off. But we picked up Badger at the YouTuber meet and greet last year, which was super fun. And we're going again. However, if you too would like to become a lost puppy for the Flying Midwest podcast, meet with us on Monday at 1:30 at the EAA Blue Barn. We will be there. Yeehaw. We'll be there to chat and all that. And then we will be meandering over to Forum Stage 8, which is where the YouTuber meet and greet will be this year. So do not miss it if, for whatever reason, you want to see us in our natural habitat.
Would you now be a found puppy if you're following us around, or are you still lost because you're following us and you have to be lost to want to?
But are we
connectors?
Do we know where we're going? Aren't we lost puppies too? It's kind of how we wander around.
We can be like a pack of lost puppies just wandering the Airventure grounds. So, though we are meeting at the EAA Blue Barn, we are not sponsored by EAA or sanctioned to meet inside their building. We'll be just picking up a spot on the south side of that building, kind of on the corner of the intersection there. So come on out, meet us there, and we would love to chat with you.
Are we doing bright shirts again?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why we wouldn't.
I will be.
All right, there you go. Look for the bright shirts.
Neon pink tank top.
And I'll be wearing my hot pink Flying Midwest podcast. And by hot pink, I mean, like, when you think of the Oshkosh air traffic controllers, the shirts they wear, it's pretty much the same color.
It's close, yeah.
Only way cooler because it's Flying Midwest podcast.
I would beg to differ. I think the controllers are way cooler than us.
Oh, yeah.
Just
okay. Yeah, they are. If you are going to follow us around the grounds like a lost puppy, however, just be warned that this podcast has a tendency to adopt said lost puppies and might bring you on as a host. Because that's what happened to me. But I am really excited, as you guys have said, to see Oshkosh on this side of the mic. I know you guys are going to just wear me down to the ground and work me like crazy because I saw how hard you guys were working last year. But I'm looking forward to every single moment of it and working to the point where all I have left in me is just to sit on the flight line and fall asleep.
Like my dad.
F-22s be damned. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of great memories of your dad sleeping.
Yes. There were ones that I had to capture via film, so I did.
So, other than your dad sleeping on the flight line, Maddie, what is your favorite memory of Airventure?
Like the one that comes to mind was the snowbirds one, but also like meeting the snowbirds guys. That was before I was in aviation. That meant a lot. But gosh, there's so many. It has to be getting introduced as a celebrity and meeting Captain Joe. That was definitely a highlight. Badger, thank you. A couple years ago, I met Badger for the first time. He was then just an avid listener, and I was tasked with finding him. I didn't know who he was.
Because he was getting lost.
Yes, because he was getting lost. I found him.
So was Captain Joe.
Captain Joe.
That's
Yeah,
part of the story.
with my dad, and yeah, we got to meet Captain Joe and to actually chat with him for a good, 15 minutes, which is longer than I talk to most people. So that was a really cool moment because he is somebody that I've, followed for a long time, and I think he's pretty cool, even though he's just like, a guy, like most people are. Most people are just people, but I think that was super cool, especially because, I got to feel really important for a bit, even though that was totally unwarranted.
Badger?
So just so we're clear, though, it was meeting Captain Joe, not meeting me.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go with yes. Sorry, Badger.
So, Badger, is that also your favorite memory of Airventure, or do you have something else?
That one definitely stands out for sure. My favorite memory isn't one that actually was a favorite memory at the time, but now looking back, I will talk about it briefly in the episode, but for those that were at the Saturday night air show last year, 2023, you'll remember that there were some mishaps, technical issues with the pyrotechnics, and one of the main things I wanted to bring my family up for was the night show. And my wife, who does not camp, does not sleep outdoors, was willing to sleep in a tent outdoors to see this night show and this pyrotechnics disaster. I was so mad that I'd hyped this show up, because it's worth the hype. It lives up to it until it doesn't work. And I was so mad. And now looking back, of course, it's one of our favorite memories, and it's, it's something we laugh at, and we know it was a fluke, and we know it'll be great this year. They'll get it all fixed. But just going through that with my wife and my daughters and just laughing at it and just having a good time and experiencing the whole thing together. And so I guess to sum it all up, the night show, but having my family up there with me to experience that, it's a memory my family has for the rest of our lives.
Very cool.
How about you, Jim?
I've been trying to think about this while we've been talking, and I'm kind of stuck between two different things. The first one being just meeting listeners last year in general. I just thought it was really special to have people come up and talk to us and know that what we're putting out there, people are actually enjoying, and that we're making some sort of influence out there in aviation. I mean, I'm not in this to try to, have some huge following or anything like that, but just knowing that there's people that enjoy what we do is kind of a nice fuel as we're running around like chickens with their heads cut off for a week. But number two, I'd say, was probably just our interactions with Richard McSpadden.
Yes.
Just because of the connections we were able to make from that, and just connecting with him again after we had interviewed him, that was really special. So unfortunately, that's the last time we were able to converse with him based on his passing, but special all the same. So
I think that's kind of an inevitability, though, with Airventure and just our occupation, I guess. Just being pilots, you're gonna know people that unfortunately pass, but I think it's those memories that we make, being people loving the same thing. Like, would we ever, like, in the wild, like, get an interview with Richard McSpadden? Like, just if we walked up to him somewhere? Like, probably not. Or if this was any other thing, business or, gosh, think of anything. But because it's Airventure, because it's aviation, you know, we're able to kind of connect with all of these people, kind of fake or not. And I think that's really special. We'll hold those.
Absolutely it is.
Well, we can bring the mood back up with some news and events coming up. The news, it's Airventure time. And the event is Airventure.
That was perfect.
There, news and events is done. Moving on.
Perfect.
What do we have going on with this episode?
We have a ton of great interviews, a lot of great people, some returning, some new. Stay tuned. You'll hear a lot of familiar voices and hear some new ones. I think you guys are going to love it.
Yeah, and I talked to a few people afterwards that we had interviewed, and they said that one of the things they were excited about was driving up to Oshkosh last year, listening to last year's episode on the drive up. So if nothing else, throw this in your favorite podcast player, hit subscribe, like, follow, all that good stuff. Cue it up for your drive or your flight out to Oshkosh, and just get excited.
Absolutely. So I think we should jump into it. Let's start first with our friends over at the Flying Stampede, Ed and Caitlin. Ready, hit it.
We have a friend in the tower, so
You do?
this year we're pretty excited.
Say
Well,
more
boy.
words about that.
Say yes.
So he is it's weird. I can't pinpoint exactly how him and I got connected. It was either through our beer drinking app or it was through our YouTube channel. I don't remember which one it was. So it was probably the beer one because I don't remember.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
So we connected and it's cool. Like we got together, like 3 years ago or so at Oshkosh?
We met him in person the first time at Oshkosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny too, his wife is a pilot also. So that was really neat. So it's lots of cool little connections there, but he's a air traffic controller and at Detroit, he works the tower at Detroit. So this is actually his first year working Oshkosh. So he's pretty pumped about that.
Very cool.
So, yeah. So he's like, well, do you guys want a tower tour? I'm like, yeah, that's a silly question. Of course we do. So I think,
how many people can you get into that tour?
yeah. Let's get all the Fly Midwest podcast listeners.
I think if we bring a big trench coat and
Both of them?
like do the shoulders and like, you know,
easy.
pretend we're one person. And,
I can crouch
Yes.
to get through the door.
Just sneak everyone in.
Yeah.
How does your friend feel about podcasts?
I'll ask him.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about Osh in a little bit more detail. How about that? What did you guys see as big highlights for you last?
My biggest highlight is kind of so it goes back to, I don't know, when I was like 18 years old or so. Sean Tucker is synonymous with aviation, especially with aerobatics. And I always loved Sean Tucker ever since the first time I saw him at like my first time going to Oshkosh. He performed, and he pulls up in the little Challenger right by where all the air show performers come after their performance. And I remember running up there because I really wanted to get a picture with him and give him a high five like everyone else does. And and thankfully one of his the people that work with him was able to snap a picture, which I still have the picture of me giving Sean Tucker
Awesome.
me and him doing the thumbs up. That's kind of like his trademark. So flash forward all these years to last year, they do a Young Eagles banquet for the Young Eagles pilots. It's on Tuesday, I believe. And Sean Tucker, obviously, I think he's like one of the chair people for the Young Eagles. So he was there and he gave his speech, and they handed out a bunch of awards and stuff. And I stuck by at the end because I wanted to just tell him how much I appreciated him. And he gives back a lot to aviators and Young Eagles, and he's just a really, really cool guy. So I went up to him afterwards and I said, hey, I took this picture with you back when I was 18 or 19 years old. Could we just recreate it? And he did. He was like,
Awesome.
yeah, of course, let's do it. So I've got a picture with him giving the thumbs up
Awesome.
at the Young Eagles banquet. So that was my highlight last year.
Kayla, what do you got?
Yeah, what do I have? Well, it's always the same thing. The aviation family that we get to see every year. It's just, and I feel like it keeps growing. Like, I feel like it just keeps growing. And we have a group that we go with every year. And we decided to try and get our Flying Stampede channel some more traction and some more interest. So we made t-shirts, and all of our friends, there's probably, 10 of us, wore these t-shirts on the EAA grounds, and they weren't embarrassed to be with us. they put on the t. That's just a few of us. And one of our friends, Ashley, she was our best marketing manager. Sometimes to our chagrin, she would, in crowded areas, she'd be like, "Have you heard about the Flying Stampede?" We'd be in the women's bathroom, and she'd loudly say it. So I really appreciate her efforts and our friends kind of just having fun with us and just kind of talking about our channel and sharing fun things like that and just having people along for the ride. So that was really fun. But I want to hear about yours. What are your favorite memories from last year?
I'll jump in first and we'll get into it a little bit.
If your answer is not being the unofficial Wisconsin affiliate for the Flying Midwest podcast, I'm going to kick you off right now.
That was one of the more comical moments for sure. Yeah, for those not in the know, I introduced myself to a booth as the Wisconsin affiliate for the Flying Midwest podcast to make it sound more official, to try to get Jim and Maddie an interview. The success of that is still pending. But my favorite was having my wife and kids up there for the first time.
Yeah.
And they'll later in this episode be giving their take on it.
Takeaways?
You will have to listen to the end of the episode to find out.
Oh no, I want to know now.
It's funny because the last one you guys did, I actually listened to it on my way up to Oshkosh. So it was like, get in the car, put on the Flying Midwest podcast, drive up to Oshkosh, and just laugh my ass off all the way up there.
Oh, it worked perfectly then. It was good. That was the plan.
Absolutely. Sure. Like, shout out to Elise the pilot if you still listen. That was awesome. She's like, "Are you from the Flying Midwest podcast?" I'm like, "Oh, you know what that is?" It was the coolest thing. And I was like super dying, but I had dragged my dad to go look at some plane that had pulled in because I'm a nerd, and it was also like the day before we left. So I was like, I don't know why I did it, but I'm glad I did because then I got to chat with her. She was cool.
Is there anything you guys are looking forward to specifically for this year? Or?
Oh, so, well, I mean, obviously the people and the tower tour and that, but I really want to learn how to do fabric work. So we're going to do a fabric workshop. Like our airplane, I mean, it's 74 years old. I mean, although the fabric's from like the 90s, but there's little like scuffs and hanger rash and stuff that needs to be cleaned up. So I'd like to be able to learn how to maybe do some fabric work. And
I haven't seen the stole competitions yet. Both years we said we were going to go, and it's late. It's the last thing at the end of the day, and we haven't made it. So this year that's on the list. But my other favorite things, well, always the night air show, but then the seaplane base. I think that's a hidden gem.
Yeah,
and I hope we make time to get there again because it's a little less crowded. It's by the water, so it's a little cooler. The seaplanes are really very, very cool.
Yeah.
So if you guys could give one tip to first-time visitors this year, what would it be?
That mine would be make time for the seaplane base. It's you will not regret it. It is the coolest part of Airventure, and it is the least crowded part of Airventure. That's my hot tip.
I'm going to go more practical and say stay cool where you can. I'm pretty excited. Last year we bought the bandanas that you can get wet, and now this year I found like an upgrade to it that's like a freeze band that you can put around your neck. So stay cool, get in the air conditioned spaces, take a break. There's a lot to see, but definitely it's going to be hot, right?
I have one more.
Oh,
so this one is a shout out to my wife. When she tells you before you leave the campground to close up the windows because it's going to rain, just do it. Because it will probably rain. Your stuff will get wet. So that's my tip.
This sounds like
really good.
This isn't just Oshkosh tip. This is like marital tips. If your wife tells you to do something,
it's life tips from the Flying Stampede. That's what we're going to call it.
Yeah. When you're tent camping, just close it up.
Yep.
It's all part of the sloshgosh, we call it lovingly after it rains. So it's going to rain and it's going to be hot. And that's all, like you said, part of the experience, part of the fun.
All right. We have one more thing for you two. It's not very often we get to do this with other people. Typically, it's just the three of us. But we want to invite you into the Pilot Quarter Sectional Showdown and see what your guess is for this image. It's kind of a big deal. We don't offer this to just everyone who's going to be interviewed tonight.
Yeah, I'll preface this by asking, because we didn't ask, are you flying in to Oshkosh this year?
No.
Okay. It'll probably be next year. So you should probably know that one of the holds is over Rush Lake, and there is a symbol over Rush Lake. The letters UC to the right of Rush Lake. Are you guys able to see that there?
Yeah.
I can see it. Yep.
Okay. What is the UC? And this would be important if you're in a hold at Rush Lake for the Fisk Revival.
Yeah, if you don't know, that's the next best thing, to just make up something that's sarcastic. That's funny.
Ugh.
It's got me through a lot of life, really.
I think it's missing a Y, so it should be yuck, because when you're flying around that lake and you get sent back around again, then that's probably the last word you're going to want to say is yuck. Is a different four-letter word. But
It's an abbreviation. We do that a lot.
Yeah, that's probably why they don't put the other two letters there. You're going to have to listen and wait and see if you are right. How about that?
All right. I'm sure I'm right. I'll wait.
He's feeling
I'm
confident.
sure you are. All right. Well, thank you two so much for joining us once again. It is always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for listening to the podcasts and for being such great supporters. And we always love hearing from you. So
we look forward to seeing you guys. We definitely, if anyone says hi to us, we do have stickers this year for the Flying Stampede.
You too. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us on.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night. See you at Osh.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Going on, guys?
What up?
I'm doing good.
So, how you been? Uh-oh.
How specifically? I've been a lot of ways. What's real complicated right now?
Oh, maybe I regret asking that question.
I'm no longer an IT guy. I quit working when my company went out of business, so I started flying like an absolute maniac. I'm literally going to take the ATP written this week, and I'm like trying to wrap up 1,500 hours. Then my plane broke in 9 different ways this week, so I'm grounded, and I'm like trying to get one. I want to get it fixed so I can get hours, but two, like Oshkosh is just around the corner, and I'm like, I'm running out of money as I replace things, and I'm trying not to use our savings, but like I'm also not bringing in money, so it's a complicated space to be in. While I'm counting down to just buying a commercial ticket to Oshkosh.
Yeah.
So I've been underneath my plane for probably 10 hours a day for the last 2 days, and driving all over creation trying to get parts for it to get stuff fixed. I am absolutely beat down. And then these people were like super late to have me on their podcast, which is like
that's just the icing on the cake. Just could it get any worse?
Ever since you brought on this Badger guy, you guys just can't do anything on
the Wisconsin internet.
Yeah, he's really brought things down.
So I'm looking forward to getting to Oshkosh so I can rest.
Said nobody ever.
You're going to Oshkosh, I presume.
Yeah.
Mostly because I saw on your channel that you're going to Oshkosh and you're going to be at some events. So,
but that channel is satire. You never know what I might go to SunCon next week instead of Oshkosh. Have my own.
That'll show them.
That's right. I'll be out there just doing my own like low passes.
How many years is this now for you?
I'm 47. Oh, the Oshkosh.
No, for Oshkosh. Oh man, you're impossible.
It's 7 or 8. There's one I went 1 year. I think I've been going since 2016, and I think one I missed because I was like, okay, I've seen it. I don't need to go back. And that was like the most FOMO of my life when I'm like, I get on social media, like, why am I not there?
and then the COVID stuff. So I think this is number 7.
So you've flown in every year, though. So this year could be not great for your streak. Sorry.
Yeah, but I was telling someone, I was like, I don't feel like doing that Fisk approach again. And they were like, well, don't. You can still fly in. And I was like, well, I guess that's true. I could fly to Appleton or something. I really like having a plane out there just because I always have stuff.
Oh, sure.
I need to go get something out of the plane. I need to go get something on the plane. So I walk over and get it. And I don't have to carry my backpack around everywhere I go with all the stuff in it.
Of all those years, do you have any like big highlights? Like, what is your favorite moment of Oshkosh?
None of them are like relatable Oshkosh moments. The coolest thing was like my friend, I was like, hey, I have a friend who lives in Chicago, and he's like, I'll take you to the beer coffin. And I'm sure you know about it, or I've talked to you about it. But
we talked about the beer coffin. Was that back last year?
I think it came back last year. He was sick one year, and then it went away for a year. And but the first time he's like, we're just going to go through these woods. And then there's this dude dressed as a monk who opens a coffin full of beer. And you're just like, what is this? That was just a cool thing that stood out to me. Answer me this, Maddie. Is Friar Tuck's food really that good, or do I just love it because the only place it exists is Oshkosh? My wife's like, you rave about this place, but it's not that good. And I remember sitting there going, you know what? It's not. But I'm still, as soon as my feet touch the grounds at Oshkosh, that's where I'm going to go to Friar Tuck's, have a Reuben sandwich and a cold beer. That's like, and I'm going to pretend I love it. But so every year that's like a little ritual. The first thing I do. Not riding the tri-motor is real big for me. Every year I either try or I buy a ticket or the plane breaks or they schedule it somehow that I miss it. It was really important every year that I plan that and then don't get to do it. A lot of it for me is bumping in. Like Maddie, I think meeting you was really cool. You had lunch or dinner at Friar Tuck's with
yeah, it was dinner. We were there for like 4 hours. It was awesome. I knew like one person.
Last year before last, landing on the green dot for the first time ever. No joke. By the time I got home, it was already on canvas in the mail. The photo of that. Because I've tried. I mean, you try every year, and usually it's like embarrassing, or they send you around, or something happens. Of course, I'm always filming. But last year, I had that camera on the year before last on that green dot with my buddy Eric, and like we weren't even paying attention to the usher people because we were so busy patting ourselves on the back at our awesome. We were like 600 other people trying to, That was funny. I was like, oh, we need to pay attention. But then most just meeting people, visiting with people and seeing people. There's a lot of people. That's the only time I see them. And then to bring the room down a bit, we had a friend pass away year before last. And so I went out there and found they made a little stone in his honor on the walkway and visited with that. That was tough. But
I think that talks too about just the community that Airventure is,
What days are you guys going to be there?
Sunday through Thursday. I think for me and Maddie and Badger, we don't care.
And how are you all getting there?
I'm going to take this. So it's not like a vintage, but it's a 2016 Ford Escape. So,
so you park that in home built.
Yeah. Mine, I think I could park in ultralights, but we'll see.
Careful, you better strap it down good when slash crash happens.
What do you guys have on your agenda?
Well, the first thing is there's this thing on Monday at 2:30 that we're probably going to try to go to. I think it's a meet and greet of some fashion.
Oh, don't really go to that. Those freaking people with their big heads and they celebrate themselves.
Hey, I'm looking forward to meeting Dan Milliken, so it'll be fine.
Oh, you're not met Dan? He's a great
I don't even think I've met Dan, actually.
I was actually going to be looking for Josh Flowers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him or not, but
yeah,
kind of a big deal.
A lot of people confuse me for him because we're both so handsome and so talented.
I don't know that anybody's ever said that, Brian.
No, Dan's a good dude. Here's the deal: at Oshkosh, you won't get to meet Dan, the guy. Like you'll get to meet Dan, the worker with an agenda, who's trying to film 2,700 episodes of 4 different shows. I'm like, every time I get so pissed at him because I'm like, Dan, I was like, add a day to the beginning or the end and just stop. Just like his people were like cockroaches. They all run around in their shirts with their cameras, and I just see them just going everywhere, getting stuff, and Dan's all wiping it crap. And I'm like, dude, have fun. Like, have fun. And he's like, I got too much to do. And I'm like, dude, like, so you'll meet him, but you're going to meet business Dan. You're not going to meet fun Dan. I'm going to tell him that. I'm going to tell him, Dan, people want to meet you and they don't want to meet business Dan.
Well, in business Dan's defense, I think I did the same thing to Maddie last year. So
yeah.
Well, and I mean, I'm doing the same thing. I'm filling up my calendar with things to do and stuff like that. But I love bumping into people and running into people. But what happens is, so I've got 3 or 4 things that are kind of set in stone. And then what happens, my Instagram inbound message box just starts filling up with people going, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going to be? And I'm like, it's too hard to coordinate 35 individual. Like, so I'm just like,
yeah,
I'll be lingering around Flying Eyes or whatever, but I can't make 30 meetings with individual people. I don't know what the answer is. But so I'm like, I feel bad because I'm like not responding to everybody because they're like, hey, what days are you going to be there? How can we get together? I'm like, I'm usually at SOS Brothers probably 2 nights out of the week. They can come to the YouTube thing, but my wife would get really annoyed if I'm like, oh, we're going to go talk to Bull at the North Fork.
Right. So, any more plugging of the meet and greet that you want to do, or do you want us to say more about that? Or you?
I think they're fun. Every year it grows a little bit bigger and more people show up. Last year it was too big. I think there was so many people on stage, and so there's. I know there was some limits this year on who could be up there just because like it really was way too many people. It's fun. A lot of people engage and ask questions, and it's not just like flying questions and stuff. It's pretty interesting, I think. And then afterwards, that's kind of a good opportunity to get to meet people. So, I mean, I've not been on the other side of the fence, but the crowd this is the third one, and it's probably doubled in size every year. So it seems to be something people enjoy. For me, it's just a big blur because I'm like, I don't like talking in front of people, but I think people do seem to enjoy it. So I say go. And you'll meet a lot of people. I mean, like Flight Shops is going to be there and like name somebody. I mean, it's the big people.
We'll post that somewhere for people to take a look at if they choose to, or if they should wish to go meet some of their favorite YouTubers and Brian Turner.
Accurate.
If you had one tip to give a first-time Osh goer, what would it be?
It's a loaded question. If they're flying in, bring a friend. If it's their first time, be the friend. If you're doing that Fisk approach on Sunday, I've done it solo 3 times, and all 3 times I've landed and been like, Turner, that was really stupid. Like, bring a friend, bring someone to help you with that. It's not a joke. It's intense, and I think a lot of people want to do that Sunday approach. I tend to do it. The last 3 times I've done it with someone in the right seat, and it is significantly easier when someone's like, okay, I've got the guy, I've got him. You watch that guy, and you're coordinating and stuff, so nothing surprises you. If you're not flying in, it's just general Oshkosh tips. If you've never seen it before, I think everyone needs to stay through a Wednesday night or a Saturday night and see that nighttime air show. That's just unbelievable. If you're youthful or youthful at heart, I think everyone owes it to themselves to hit SOS one night. The bands out there are incredible. They're so good, but it's a very social event. Even if you're solo, you can go out there and make friends. Like, people out there are great. So, and then make sure you dress for winter, fall, summer, and spring. You're going to want to wear rain boots. You're going to want to have Crocs. You're going to want sandals. You're going to want cowboy boots. Just be prepared for any kind of weather, because I've been there when it's freezing cold. I've been there when it's hot. I've been there through tornadoes. I've been there but take a deep breath, stop, move slow, look around, and soak it all in. And the other piece of advice I'll give you, you asked for one tip, and we're on number 9. Go to the EAA Airventure website and go to the agenda. It'll show you everything that's happening every hour of the day, and go start putting things that you want on your itinerary and print it out and walk around with that piece of paper and go, okay, it's 2:30. I just look at my piece of paper and go, these 3 things are going on. Am I interested in one? And go to it. So it's kind of nice to and they've got an app that does it too, but I guess most people will use the app. I just carry the paper around and go, oh, it's 2. Martin Polly's giving a talk. I want to go see him, or something like that. So otherwise you get lost in the sauce. I think having an itinerary is very helpful, because otherwise you just wander aimlessly looking at, airplane, and then suddenly the week's over.
Fun doing it that way.
Yeah, then you turn around and then there's another airplane, and you could just keep doing that for days.
The first time I went to Oshkosh, I never did anything. I just walked around the North 40 in vintage and in home built and the experiment, just looking at planes and talking to people about their velocities and whatever. And I was like, I didn't see an air show. I didn't see anything. It's like, I didn't know anybody. And I was like, just looking at planes and talking to people. And then they're like, there's this other stuff that goes on there, right, Brian? I was like what? And so someone directed me to that itinerary, and I was like, oh, okay.
You've played this game with us before, in a less serious fashion, but we're going to try one more that's a real one this time. A Pilot Quarters Sectional Showdown for you, Oshkosh edition.
I'm nervous. You're going to ask me real flying
for this? It's a real flying question. We're going to test all that big brain knowledge you have.
So last time you were here, we tried to give you home field advantage and give you a Texas one. You've flown the Fisk arrival a handful of times, so you should be familiar with
the Frisk arrival.
The Frisk arrival.
That's a whole different process.
That's a different arrival.
That happens at SOS Brothers at 1 a.m, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Fisk Arrival, just to the east of Rush Lake. There's a UC. What does the UC mean?
Uncoordinated. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Oh, well, hold on. Did something just get cut off? Sometimes that happens and it's a part of a word. Did it like say Fond du Lac or something?
No.
No, that happens on fictionals, on digital things all the time. I was like, what's this thing? And you're like, oh, it's an error. What does UC stand for? I don't know.
You'll have to find out. We're going to make you wait and listen.
Hold on, my phone's ringing. Alexa, what does UC stand for?
What? Okay.
According to Alexa, it stands for microcontroller.
That's what it is.
Okay, there you go.
Well, Brian, thanks so much for joining us once again. You're always a pleasure to have on, and you crack me up, dude. So thanks for coming on, and we look forward to seeing you out at Osh.
All right, thanks for having me, you guys. Let's meet up when we get out there.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
See you at Ash.
All right, Brian.
All right,
see ya.
later.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
Well,
Hello, Trevor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are great. Hey, thanks for reaching out, man. It's good to hear from people who listen to the podcast, and we're excited to bring you on and talk about Airventure. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
well, we're here to talk about Osh this evening, and it sounds like you went for the first time last year. Is that right?
That's correct. I've always wanted to go. I've always had an interest in airplanes, so it's kind of been a big focal point. I hear it's the biggest air show in the world. And so I went up last year with my dad, and I think we stayed for 3 days. We stayed Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we saw all the jets, the night show on Saturday. The biggest thing for me was seeing, like I said, the night show. It was wonderful. We had actually some sort of failure with the pyrotechnics where they kept on going, and then they stopped. And then they end up going again, and then they stopped. And they couldn't get them back on again, so they just lined them all up and set them all off at once. It was just one big explosion. It was the coolest thing.
I feel like I vaguely remember hearing about that and going, oh, that'd be cool to see, but...
Yeah, so that was the Saturday night show, and I remember that. I was so mad because like that was the one draw to get my wife to actually. My wife doesn't camp, so getting her to sleep in the tent and hear the show, like and the music keeps restarting. Do you remember they played Sweet Caroline and everyone was singing along, and so yeah, we're all walking away and just this big explosion, and my wife turns to me, she's like, "I don't think that was supposed to happen."
It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, how I said a minute ago, I vaguely remember hearing about this. I think I know where I heard it.
Yeah. Anything else that stands out when the sun was still up?
The very first thing we saw was the C5. We saw it coming in, driving there. You just saw the tail.
Yeah, hard to miss that one.
Yeah, it was insane. So just the size difference. I'm used to flying 150s and 172s. So the size difference of even like the Pipers and the Moonies and the Bonanzas and all those were kind of fun to see. And also just the amount of people that actually build their own aircraft. The amount of kit planes that I saw there was astounding. We saw, I forget what it was, but there was sorry, there's a plane starting right next to me.
I mean, this isn't...
Still at the airport.
Never apologize.
This is an aviation podcast. You're good.
I forget what it was, but there was one aircraft with, on the ground, it looked kind of like an upside-down Y.
You saw probably a long easy. My dad has a disdain for them. Funnily enough, his favorite airplane on the face of the earth is the Beech Starship, which is a canard design. So I think that is very ironic.
I also got, speaking of Beechcraft, I saw a couple stagger wings there. That, to me, I love that plane. I love the look of it. I love the radial. It's honestly, when I grow up someday, I want to have some sort of beach aircraft, whether that be like a Bonanza, a stagger wing, a Baron, one of the three. I love all the Beechcraft designs.
I did joke with Dick Napinski last year about, he's the EA communications director, if you listen to our last episode. I joked with him about parking my Sundowner on Boeing Plaza, and he said, well, it definitely stands out. People would think it's a really important plane, though. It must have accomplished something huge, because why else would there be a Sundowner on Boeing Plaza?
So I know you've said a couple of things that you're really looking forward to this year. Is there like one thing or a couple things that you're like ecstatic for this year?
I want to go back to the bushcraft area more and see like the kits they had. Because I like kit boxes. I like their design, and I just want to know more. I want to know more about how they operate, how you get one, all that. The difference between flying bushcraft or flying just in like the Midwest. Yeah, just seeing the different perspectives.
So, being that last year was your first year at Airventure, what lessons did you learn that you wish maybe somebody would have told you about before your first year that you would pass on to another first-year attendee?
Bring walking shoes. That sounds very, very sarcastic, but I brought some slippers or some sandals.
Oh, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's good. I had to change them into my dad's shoes. He looked like brought an extra pair. I also didn't realize how muddy it would be. We just camped out. We were stepping in the mud every couple of seconds.
Yeah.
It was packed. Even on a Saturday, people were filing out, but we were still packed shoulder to shoulder. I also wish that we got there just a little bit earlier than we did.
When you emailed us, you mentioned that you're starting to work through your ratings and, if I remember correctly, potentially fly for a living. Is that right?
That's correct. I am currently doing my instrument rating. This is my 6th week into it now. We have about 4 weeks left before we have to be rated. And then after that, I'm getting my commercial during the fall. And I will be getting my CFI, my multi, all those through IAA too, or in COD.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, we do have one more question. We can't let them off that easy. So you're familiar with our pilot quarter sectional showdown with the sectional quiz, and so I'm sharing my screen right now, and we're keeping it Oshkosh related. The Fisk arrival includes a possible hold over Rush Lake. And if you look just to the east of Rush Lake, you'll see this UC. So our question for the pilot quarter sectional showdown this time is, what does that UC mean?
My best guess is uncontrolled, but it does not look like it's uncontrolled. It looks like there's some sort of restricted area to the west.
There is actually. Nobody's noticed.
Is it an MOA over there?
Restricted area before. Okay. It is an MOA. It's I think nobody's mentioned that before. So even though that's not the right answer, you definitely get bonus points for noticing that. I like that.
Fair enough.
Everybody else would just fly blindly into a hot zone, but not you, Trevor. Well, thanks for playing the sectional showdown, and you'll have to stick around to hear the whole episode to find out what it is.
All right.
Trevor, can't thank you enough for not just being a listener to the podcast, but also being willing to come on and put up with our antics and talk to us about Airventure. So excited for the event, and hopefully we'll see you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the Flying Midwest podcast.
Hey, everybody.
Love your shirt for another podcast.
And your log
here on official
for another podcast.
Here on official business. I love it.
Uh-oh. Yeah, so Jeff and I have known each other for a few years. We were both part of the flying club that I left last year. And I see his loyalties left when I left because, yeah, he's wearing an opposing base's shirt and his title is the OB live show director. So I'm not sure what podcast you think you're on today, Jeff, but thanks for joining us here.
Absolutely. Glad you'd have me, even after seeing that on the waiting list.
Yeah, I debated going, I think this guy's in the wrong queue. Let's just direct him where he needs to go. But I decided to let you in anyway. So,
oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
No pressure or anything, but the merch game should probably be slanted a little more towards us during Oshkosh.
So I do have a long sleeve T-shirt of yours.
Awesome. That's not going to do you great at Oshkosh, though, because it's hotter than hell.
Well, Jeff, if you want to tell all of our listeners a little bit about yourself and specifically how you got into aviation.
So learning to fly is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I was considering it as a career out of high school, but I didn't have the money. After some years working and saving up some money, I had some time and cash do my private pilot. So I did that back probably 3 years ago. I learned here locally in Wisconsin and have been flying since. And now I'm a member of a flying club.
So this is about Osh. How many times have you gone to Osh? I should say Airventure because you're from Wisconsin, so it's just Oshkosh every day of the year. So how many times have you been to Airventure?
I've driven up a few times and I've flown in once.
Okay. Nice. What did you prefer of those? Flying in or driving in?
Absolutely flying. It's something I practiced for and chair flew. I was really excited for, and it paid off. It was a very, very great experience.
I'm a little intimidated by the idea, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna drive the Fisk approach again this year.
Okay. Are you still going to stop at Fisk?
Absolutely, I am.
Okay.
Was that you that was there last year the same time I was and sent a message, or is that somebody else?
That was me. We
Okay.
I think we crossed.
You like cross pass,
Yeah.
like ships in the night?
Exactly. So I'll have to keep an eye out for you this year now that I know who to look for.
Yeah, I plan on going out there Sunday again. So like as I get into town, we'll go get our media credentials, and I'll probably go right to Fisk.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a busy day of stuff coming in, and those controllers are so professional and so good at what they do. It's just really fun to watch.
It is fun to watch.
So, Jeff, what are some of your favorite memories from your times at Osh?
Just walking around and meeting random people. So you'd pick out a shirt or something that you would recognize, like an opposing base's shirt. Or and you just go and say, hey, because you know you're going to be friends and you have something in common. So.
Oh, that was good.
Oh, I know. It was not a bad idea.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to just bring the elephant in the room up right now. So you're clearly wearing an opposing base's shirt. Your caption here for your name that no one else but us can see is OB Live Show Director. I assume that means opposing bases.
I've been given the task of being the director of the OB Live show this year. I'm kind of wrangling the guys, getting their final transportation sorted, going up and get the lay of the land and help them any way they need. And if any of your listeners are not opposing bases listeners, I encourage them to go check it out. It's a great podcast.
I actually do too.
Yeah.
I encourage them to. They're fun.
If you don't want to fully commit to listening to them on a podcast and you're at Oshkosh, you could come see them. Their live show will be the 27th, so the second Saturday at 10 a.m. at the AOPA Blue Tent.
Have they thought about moving that date to accommodate my schedule better?
I'll submit your request.
Oh, I'm so bummed that I'm going to miss that, but schedules are what they are.
You can always stay.
I could, but I can't. Yeah. So there's that.
But Jeff, you didn't get this live show director title just by chance. You had a big part in them actually making it on time last year. Do you want to tell that story a little bit?
So much like you and your hats and bugging the Flying Midwest podcast, I was kind of the same way with the opposing bases crew. I
followed them around.
Yeah, I followed them around, and I volunteered to make a bingo game that we play in the live chat for their episodes. And then last year, their transportation got all kind of screwed up. And so I quickly jumped in and said, hey, if you guys can make it to Milwaukee, I can get you the rest of the way. Got into Milwaukee in the middle of the night and got a few hours of sleep. And then I made sure they made it to their live show on Saturday last year.
And now, just like that, you're the OB Live Show Director.
Isn't that how it works, Badger?
It is, if you hang around long enough.
I'm not the the Flying Midwest podcast show director per se, but I did introduce myself last year as the Wisconsin affiliate. So, yeah, that is kind of how it works.
I still absolutely love that story. When you told me that you did that, I was just tickled. I'm like, that is so awesome.
It's one thing you'll have to remind me. What do you call the tri-motor?
Oh, the great disappointment.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought you called it like the Blue Deceiver or something like that.
Oh, no, my
Great Deceiver,
Great
Major.
Deceiver. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big disappointment.
Great Deceiver. Well, because it sounds like something really exciting, but every time. But it's like you look and it's like, oh.
Oh, there it is. Tri-motor.
Which is cool. But after you see it about 14 times, it's like, all right. I get it.
Yeah.
As it turns out, I don't think that's going to get you a ride on the tri-motor by them listening to our podcast and hearing us talk about them being the Great Deceiver or the Great Disappointment. So
I already did it once.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. A question we've been asking everyone tonight is there's plenty of first-timers at Airventure every single year. having been there a few times, what advice would you give to someone that you wish you would have had the first times you were at Airventure?
Plan a few days. It's not a one-day thing. There's so many things to do and look at and see. Plan a few days and take your time. Just go walk around.
I tried to do it in one day, 1 year, and that was not a good idea.
No.
So with that in mind, what days are you going up, or how many?
I plan on the second half of the week, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
This means that we have to plan a Wednesday evening meet and greet then. So
I think so. Or you know what we should do? Breaking now, we should do a Flying Midwest podcast Wednesday night air show meet and greet. Or not.
We all watch the air show together? So I like it.
I'm hearing no feedback, so.
No, I was...
You know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to go watch it with Jeff, and you guys are not
No, I was actually thinking about that already. I didn't think of incorporating the air show into it. I thought about, like, between the afternoon and the night air show, like finding a spot where we could grab some chicken strips and and enjoy each other's company. That was kind of my plan. I just hadn't figured out or talked to you two about it yet, how we were going to do it, because I also want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Well, I think I know the answer to this next one, but is there anything in particular you're looking forward to at Oshkosh this year?
Really all of it. I usually try to find the cheese curd taco food truck, and
I heard about that.
Gotta find it. It is legit.
Breaking news from the Fly Midwest podcast. Jeff has now been selected as the cheese curd taco director for the Fly Midwest podcast. So when you find it, Jeff, you let us know where it's at.
I will put
and
it
we'll be eternal grateful. Awesome.
We can't really offer compensation, but we could probably swing a cheese curd taco your way.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It looked like you were really contemplating like some sort of negotiation for your services for this title. Like, would you consider? Right.
They're good.
This is something that we've been doing tonight with all of our guests. That is to bring you into the full, like, really Flying Midwest experience and have you guess what this symbol is on this Pilot Quarters sectional showdown.
So this is just to the east of Rush Lake, and there's a little symbol that says UC. What does the UC stand for?
I am unsure.
We do accept sarcastic answers as well.
Okay. Nothing's coming to mind.
No.
Maybe you suck, but that doesn't really.
What's a soft C?
Yeah, right.
I love it.
Cool.
Pointing at everybody else that's not flying the Fisker rival.
There you go. As we're telling everybody else, you'll have to stick around to the end of the episode to find out what it means.
Can I still do my unpopular aviation opinion?
You know, I think you really should.
Well, the thing that bugs me the most is chatty people on the CTAP.
Mm-hmm.
Like reading things that you might already know, too.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Okay.
Is this something the Badger has done by chance?
No, this is something
good.
that I am very anti.
I'd say it's local knowledge.
Yeah, if you're ever in southeastern Wisconsin, and I've even picked this up as far west as almost the Mississippi River. If you're ever on 122.8, there is a chatty Cathy, I think is what you referred to them, that likes to tie up the frequency with all sorts of information that you already got when you got the ASOS.
They're just trying to be helpful.
It's not like meowing or Chewbacca sounds on guard, but it's pretty darn close.
You're a guard.
Guard. And there will be a very short meet and greet, as I understand, just after the Opposing Bases podcast. So, again, at the AOPA tent, just after the Opposing Bases podcast, I will be hosting a meet and greet. And I think those guys are planning on coming and meeting me. So make sure you guys stick around afterwards.
Is this a Badger meet and greet?
It sounds like it.
It's going to be a Badger meet and greet. It's conveniently the same time and place as when OB is done. They've reached out to me. They said they really want to try and make it. So
I'm pretty sure they'll be there.
Okay.
Is it because it's going to be right where they're doing their thing and Badger's going to hang out like he did with us?
No.
No, certainly not. Well, thanks for coming on, Jeff, and telling us a little bit about your Oshkosh history, what you're looking forward to, and of course, plugging a different podcast
We really appreciate that last part.
Yeah.
I plugged you guys on the last Opposing Bases podcast.
Oh,
This is true. That is true.
All's fair then.
If you listen to the episode that dropped today, which is Monday the 8th, I believe you guys are either in the show notes or made the live show.
Yep, we are in the show notes, and that is thanks to you, Jeff. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do really enjoy your podcast. I think you guys are doing a good job, so keep it up.
Well, thanks, Jeff. We appreciate that. Means a lot.
And we'll definitely get together at Oshkosh. Well, thanks for coming on, Jeff. And you know what to do from here. See ya.
See ya.
See ya. All right, up next we've got Ben from the Midlife Pilot Podcast.
I know that hat.
Oh, look at that hat. What a great start, Ben.
Gotta support the brand, man. Maddie and Jim, nice to meet you. I think I've met Andrew at one point in time.
Yeah, good to meet you as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me.
We appreciate you coming on because I am a listener of your podcast as well. You guys do some pretty good work, so I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate what you guys do in aviation, and it's going to be great to talk to you.
Thanks. Ted and I keep talking about maybe trying to figure out some time to maybe do a crossover, maybe even a post-Osh debrief.
Oh, the kind of a midlife Midwest debrief episode.
I think I found out an hour ago that Brian may be coming up. So,
oh, no kidding.
We're going to come up on Friday and then watch the live show with the OB guys and then go home on Sunday morning.
I was going to say that, all these fancy YouTubers have their meet and greet. In the future, us podcasters need to unite and have our own meet and greet.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good call. I like that.
Yeah, the Oshkosh podcaster meet and greet. And we'll all wear Badger pilot hats.
Yeah. I mean,
I
got to say, it's probably the coolest logo that's out there.
It's pretty great.
I like how you did that.
It's very striking.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think we should all, at this podcaster meet and greet, wear each other's gear. Nobody wears their own. We all just...
I kind of love that, though.
I will say, just a quick aside, that one of the things that I actually love about the aviation podcasting community specifically, even some of the YouTubers that we've connected with, like with radio and TV, it's like they always seem like they're competing against each other. And it doesn't have that vibe in this space whatsoever. Everyone is super helpful. Everyone's super willing to talk to each other and help each other out. And we just all have the same passion and just want to share it. And I think that is so cool.
I have the same exact experience, Jim. I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, should we talk about some Oshkosh stuff? I mean, this is our Oshkosh prep episode. So.
I think so.
So, Ben, I know you mentioned that you've been to one Airventure in the past. Is there anything that stands out as a particular fun memory for it?
Yeah, there's a couple, actually. So I flew up with my youngest son, who is actually celebrating a birthday tonight.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah. We had a nice dinner with him, so everything's good. But we flew up to Cincinnati. I got a sister there. We spent the night and got up early. We flew in on a Wednesday, and my son at the time was actually taking flying lessons. This was in 2021. And, he only had a couple of hours under his belt, but he knew what everything was about. So it was really good to have a second person in the plane watching for the aircraft. I think we're at Puckaway Lake, and the line formed up pretty easily, and the spacing was good. We were just at Green Lake, and there was a stuck mic, and it was an RV, and the only reason I know that is because everybody heard this guy saying every word, and he's talking about how great the RV is, and that what he can do is speed-wise, and we heard this whole dissertation. I had told my son, I was like, if we get to Fisk, and it's still a stuck mic, we'll turn and go do a hold either at Green Lake or Puckaway, whatever. But fortunately, the RV got on the ground probably 2 miles south of Fisk. And I think I was the second airplane that was cleared, told to rock their wings. It was a little stressful, I guess, is about the best way to say it. Because at the time, I don't recall reading very much about what to do when there's a stuck mic. We got assigned to, I think they were landing south, so I was on 1-8. And my next most nervous point, it's not spotting other aircraft to avoid, but who to follow. because all the calls were high wing, follow the high wing, and there's like 2 or 3 different high wings all along in the pattern. And I was just nervous about being able to spot the correct one, so I didn't cut anybody off. As they gave me my descent and turned into the downwind, they said, go behind the Ford Trimotor, which is probably the easiest airplane in the world to spot ever.
Okay.
And, it's huge. So that aspect of it went really well. And I was pretty excited about that, to be able to fly the approach and not have any really hiccups. It was a very proud accomplishment at that moment in time. Still is, but, and then we got on the ground, and our 182 is a 1968 model, so we went to vintage parking. And you ever seen those movies like when the main character's walking up into a disaster while everybody else is leaving? Well, that's kind of how it felt to us, because we had 2 spots off the main line. We had like primo parking, and we're looking around like, where is everybody? And they said, oh, there's a massive storm coming in. And I had just flown, 2 hours in the hold, flying the Fisk approach. And I looked at my son and I said, we're not getting back in that airplane. We're just going to tough this one out. And they were saying hell was supposed to come and all this stuff. So we get the tent set up. We're all ready to go, bracing for the storm. And thankfully, no hell ever came. But we had one of our tent, the fly over our tent, the straps broke. And so our tent was flooded. So that was really kind of our welcome to Oshkosh. We crawled in the 182, had the most uncomfortable night of sleep in my entire life. That plane is not built for sleeping. And then we woke up the next morning, laid everything out on the airplane. I have some pictures of it. And by noon that day, everything was completely dried out. We got the tent repaired, set it back up, and had an unbelievable experience the rest of the time.
Nice.
And you said this was 2021?
That's correct.
Yeah,
2021.
I remember that storm because I remember the night before people were like putting mattresses or bubble wrap or whatever they could find on their planes.
So what are you looking forward to most for this year's Airventure?
I think the number one answer that anybody gives for this is the people. I've only been once, and so I haven't been able to connect with as many people that have gone a bunch of times. A lot of mutual friends in the podcast world and the aviation world are going to be there on Saturday when we're going up there. So I am absolutely looking forward to reconnect with that. I don't know that I'm actually going to fly in this year. I'm going to be staying either in Milwaukee or Fond du Lac. I've got a little shopping to do. I've already been given permission from my better half. I've got my eyes on another set of light speeds.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. She likes it because then she gets my hand-me-down pair for the airplane that is more comfortable for her.
Not bad, then.
Yeah. She wins in this deal, too. So, yeah, just the camaraderie. Just being around the vibe there is just awesome. So,
yeah, for sure. Is the Beast not part of the equation this year?
No, it is. It is. I'm flying. So, okay. As a self-proclaimed right in the heart of being a midlifer, no pun intended, the camping is... I'm just not big into camping. Now, I will tell you, if I camped more than once a year and I had the proper equipment, I would love to do it. I'd do it all the time. But, when you have a cheap tent and a cheap sleeping bag and a cheap phone, yeah, I'm just too old for it now. So I'm probably going to stay Friday night, fly into maybe Waukesha Friday night, and then I might go up to Fond du Lac. I may go ahead and get a reservation to stay there Saturday night. I may go fly the Fisk. I may not. Because I have accommodations outside the campus, would be the only reason I didn't fly in. But the Beast is very much going to be into the equation. It's been a hot minute since I've done a really, really long cross country, and I've been itching to do one. So I told my wife I'm either going to California or I'm going up to Oshkosh, and Oshkosh won. So
while you're up here, and I know you mentioned Brian might be coming up as well. Do you have any plans to do any podcast type of stuff, or you just going to come up and enjoy the show?
No, I just want to come up and enjoy the show. This literally has come about, and it hasn't been finalized that Brian's going to come up. We wouldn't podcast without Ted, and Ted's not going to be able to make it this year. It's really, for me, it's just a social outlet. I want to get out and see some other pilots and enjoy it.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of, like, yes, you've got this presence in the aviation space with the podcast, but I think at the end of the day, we're all just pilots and aviation lovers. So to take that time for yourself and just enjoy the show too, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Can we circle back real quick, because I want to point something out that Ben said that I found to be fascinating and quite important. He said that he would never do a podcast without Ted, and which implies he would never just leave one of his co-hosts behind just for the sake of an episode. So it's a novel idea, and
how come I feel like that's a little bit of a jab, maybe?
Oh, because it's totally a little bit of a jab. That's a lot of it of a jab.
Well, not with it being like if he's going on vacation, something incommunicado and it's pre-planned, but I wouldn't just throw a podcast out without his express written approval. Of course, they do that to me, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's true. They bring back the OG midlifer, Chris.
That's right.
So you're the badger in this situation then on your crew.
Do you know what?
I'll move on without you, but not the other way around.
Tell you, Jim, I've been called a lot worse. I'm quite all right with that.
Does he or does he not have a badger on his hat?
He does. So you've been to Airventure the one time.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to someone going for the first time that you wish you knew when you went for your first trip to Oshkosh?
I've seen this in other YouTube videos, and I'm going to say this: wear comfortable shoes. Because I keep a track of my steps, and it was almost a marathon a day, it felt like. No matter where you park, you find that you want to go to the furthest point on the other side of the airport. And it just works out that way. I don't know how. When we were at one end, my son wanted something to eat that was at the opposite end. And then when we got there, we figured we left something in the airplane that we needed to go back and get, and just never a shuttle around when you need it. But anyway, comfortable shoes would be probably my number one suggestion. I will say it gets hot here in the South. It does get pretty steamy up there. So I wasn't expecting how hot it was. A dress for it. And golly, I sound like a old man when I'm giving these advice. Wear comfortable shoes.
You do have a podcast called The Midlife Pilots, so
I'm still in denial, Jim.
Just throwing that out there.
The last thing I'll say, and this is taking a cue from my other podcast host, Brian, live the moment. Be present in it. It's great to take a few pictures here and there, but it's an experience like nothing else. 99.9% of the people are great quality people, and just you could stand next to somebody and just start up a conversation with them and forge a new friendship. And there's 600,000 people there over the course of a week, and just it's really just an incredible experience that it's really hard to put into words. So soak it in once you get there.
Great advice.
To thank you for coming on the podcast this evening, we have a little gift in the form of a quiz for you. Patrick, would you like to introduce Ben to our
so we started this game called the Sectional Showdown, where we find if you've heard the show.
I listened to your podcast. I am a fan of yours.
All right.
I know.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
I listened to the audio version of it. Obviously, that's the only one. But I'm in the episode, I will say, super strong shout out. And I think this is a topic not covered enough. But when you had the mental health expert on there, it's awesome. And the more that we can do that, it's just the better. So thank y'all for putting that out. And I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's an important topic that's kind of personal to me. So I think it's important to talk about.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So let's do this.
All right. Sounds good. We're looking at Rush Lake.
Yep.
And just to the east of Rush Lake is this little UC symbol. What is the UC?
If I say it with enough confidence, then I'm probably going to be right. I'm going to say Uncharted.
Yeah. Uncharted. Okay. That's pretty darn close, actually. I like that.
See, it's close.
But wouldn't it be charted by saying it's Uncharted on the chart?
Yeah, I guess it's on the chart, but I mean, it's an approximation. But yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. That's a great point. Or it hasn't been surveyed in a while, maybe.
Okay. That's actually probably the closest we've gotten.
Yep, it is.
But you'll have to listen to the end to find out the answer.
Oh, come on. My first guess is that it was an undercover tower. So, because I prefer to, but I don't know and don't want to look like an idiot. I just make up the most sarcastic.
Is it
thing
one that have tree branches on it to make it look like a tree?
Right, yeah.
Undercover.
Oh, we have one of those. I drive past it on my way to the airport every time, and I'm like, that is the ugliest fake tree I've ever seen.
And it's the stupidest thing in the world. I agree with you, but I think I like your answer better, even though it may be wrong. I think that's what it should be.
No, what it's doing is it's watching for all the people who are cutting in line on the Fisk arrival. So it's undercover and it's monitoring all those that are line cutters.
That's awesome. And I'd like to go on record saying that this is a brilliant game that you play, because there's so much on that sectional, any sectional, that you can draw from.
Yeah.
It's like
I learned so much
forever.
from this. Yep. I would love to say that it's our idea in whole, but actually Pilot Quarters, who sponsors that segment, they're like, hey, what if you guys did this? I'm like, that is an awesome idea. And we just ran with it. So
that's great. It's still,
I got to give them the props for it.
Absolutely. That's still a fun thing to do.
I cannot thank you enough for coming on. Again, a huge fan of what you guys are doing in the aviation space. So keep up the great work, and I'll keep listening. So, but thanks so much for coming on.
And I'll keep listening to y'all. I think y'all put on a great podcast, and I'm really flattered that you allowed me to come on. It's a lot of fun. It's nice to see y'all's faces, and hopefully we'll maybe we get lucky and connect Jim at Oshkosh.
Hopefully. Well, awesome, Ben. Thank you so much. All right, so our next guest is Bill. He's going to be hanging out with us at Oshkosh, taking some photos and doing all sorts of fun stuff with us. So if you see him around us while we're out there, say hello. But let's jump into it. So hello, Bill. Welcome.
Hi, how is everyone? I'm Bill.
He's great at the introductions. So here's the thing, though. Like, Bill and I, like, we go back pretty far within our careers, and we kind of cut our teeth together early on in our career. So we've known each other for a long time. So I'm actually really pumped that he's going to be coming out to Osh with us. So would you mind telling us a little bit about who you are for those who are listening?
I'd love to. Yeah, again, we covered it. My name is Bill. Jim and I go way back in our professional lives. We worked together for many, many years. And so over those years and through those trials and tribulations, we developed a pretty strong friendship. And he actually invited me in years past out to the Oshkosh show. This is the first year we were actually able to make it work. I spend a lot of my free time doing amateur photography. I love it. It's a passion. I specifically have a passion for public safety photography. I've done a lot of that. If you see, you'll see my work on Facebook quite a bit, and I work with a lot of local law enforcement agencies that maybe can't afford to hire big-time professionals to do their photography work. So I do a lot of that. I love it. It's a passion of mine, and for me, it's really not work. And they say if you can find something that you enjoy that's not really work, then you're doing it right. So that's kind of who I am, and that's probably why Jim invited me to get some good free labor, some free photos.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
nailed it.
So my understanding is you're not a pilot.
Nope.
Never been to Oshkosh. What got you into aviation?
Since I was a young child, I've been fascinated by planes, right? Because you go to the airport, you just look at, standard commercial aviation, like the 737 that I fly in all the time with Southwest. It's incredible. And people take it for granted how amazing it is to see those machines just take off into the air like magic. And ever since I was a kid, I loved watching them from the ground, but I was frankly terrified to get on those planes. And it took me a long time to get over that. For a while, I had to use actually medication to fly, which is probably a weird dichotomy, right? Like I love airplanes, but I'm afraid to get on an airplane. We had a work project that actually required me to fly, and I couldn't take my medication. And ever since then, I'm over it. And it's been great because I forced myself to get on an airplane and enjoy it in the way that most people do. And it's really been great. My experience in being on airplanes is very limited. It's mostly Southwest 737s. As you know, that's all they fly. So spent a lot of time on those planes. And I've never been to an air show. This will be my first one. I've always wanted to go, but it's one of those things that you put on your list of things to do, and then you just it sits on the list until someone says, hey, you've told me, Bill, you said you really want to do this. You said this is something you want to enjoy. Let's go do it. And so I fully expect to be overwhelmed by the sights and sounds of Oshkosh. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, if you've never been to an air show, you picked one that can't be beat. So,
awesome.
Choice.
Yeah, all the rest of them are going to be a huge letdown from now on. Because now you'll get the bug and you're going to go check one out. I'm like, this is not Osh.
And they say go big or go home, right? So I'm ready to go.
They do.
Yeah.
They do say that. Is there anything specific that like you're excited for?
Digging into it, there's so much information. Like I had no idea. Just looking into some of the stuff Jim has shared with me on how big of a program it is and how busy of a week it is. I'm just in the absorbing it all point at this point. But I'll tell you one thing. Even just like looking at aircraft, for me, it's going to the viewing area at MSP, right? So the coolest aircraft I've ever seen is the last passenger 747 that came into MSP years ago, right?
Nice.
I'm excited to see unique, interesting aircraft that you don't normally see. And I'm just guessing here, we're going to get a pretty upfront and personal look at these aircraft and seeing them in action. It's going to be pretty cool to see non-commercial, some of these more exotic aircraft doing what they do. It should be pretty cool. That's the number one thing I'm looking for. And to be able to add getting some interesting and dynamic photos, it sounds like a good time if you're asking me. So,
well, we are. So,
yeah, it is a podcast, right? Is that
that is the idea? Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
The first year I took a lot of photography. I maxed out all my SD cards. So bring as many as you own is my suggestion. Because you will want to take pictures of everything.
And then buy 3 more.
Yes, and then buy 3.
For sure.
What I'm kind of excited for in kind of that same space, I think that sometimes we take for granted the awesomeness that is aviation, just with our exposure to it, right? So I'm kind of excited to see things a bit through Bill's eyes, if that makes sense. Share those experiences and chat about things on the drive back to the hotel or at night or whatever. And we have a long drive back together that he might regret sometime.
Wait a minute.
Sometime down that road.
No, is this drive?
Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But no, I mean, just to see that through someone's eyes who's never been to an air show, I think is going to be kind of fun, honestly.
I will be giddy is probably what we're going to go with.
I see like grown adults getting like super ecstatic about an airplane that they see or whatever. Like it is totally normal. I've done it. I do it frequently. So
I wouldn't say I'm a grown adult, I guess, when but I'm pretty close. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, hopefully I'm in a space where I won't be judged for my goofiness when it comes to seeing some of this equipment. So.
Oh no, that's totally a safe space. We're all the same way.
Excellent. Good.
Nope, I'm going to say it. So, how are you going to get chicken tenders and chicken strips at Airventure? So
go ahead.
That's most of what Bill's diet is chicken strips and cheese quesadillas, and I think gummy type of cans. Is that right?
Single-handedly keep the Chick-fil-A running.
Yeah, there's a Chick-fil-A. Is there? Really?
There's a Chick-fil-A.
There is a Chick-fil-A.
They'll be back this year.
Okay, so the question has already been answered, but I will say, just as an aside, as a almost grown adult who eats primarily chicken strips, you would be surprised how resourceful someone can get when it comes to, planning ahead to know that you're going to have access to something like chicken strips. I'm pretty good at it, so I expect to be successful. Now, I am going to bring an emergency supply just in case. If we do run into some type of roadside emergency, we'll be safe. But I do expect to be squared away. And if not, I'll blame you, Jim. So.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
No, we'll take care of you. We will get you some chicken strips over at the old Chick-fil-A.
Well, there's A&W too. Do they sell chicken strips?
I bet they do.
A&W. In fact, A&W does sell chicken strips. I was just there last week and had some of their delicious chicken strips.
It looks like you'll have plenty to choose from.
In your research, have you found any tips from people of things that you should bring or things that you should do, or do you want to hear some?
My exposure to preparing for this has been through you, so I would love to hear some tips and tricks.
The big ones: bring good shoes.
Okay,
very important. If you don't have good shoes, sunscreen and bug spray, and one that you might not think about, chapstick or some kind of lip balm. Because as we were told by Dick Napinski last year, he's the director of communications for EAA. He said that getting a sunburn on your lips the very first day of Oshkosh is not very fun. So
that's not going to be a good time.
No. We're going to have to get you out to the seaplane base. Have you heard of that at all yet?
No.
It's Lake Winnebago, and there's a little cove over there. They land airplane, like the seaplanes over there. And in a place that's super busy and you can meet 600,000 of your new closest friends. The seaplane base is like a super chill place to just take an afternoon and just relax. So we'll make it over there. Do you follow any aviation YouTubers that you may want to watch?
Yeah, I do. I do listen to a small handful of aviation podcasts, but the thing I've found is some of the ones that I find that I kind of latch onto aren't really. They don't have the staying power. I'm not sure how long Flying Midwest has been around. I do follow you all on social media, but you guys seem to be doing better than some of the other ones I've connected with, and then then they kind of disappear. So I guess I'm kind of just looking forward to seeing what new media and I can get exposed to maybe latch on and make my commutes a little bit more interesting. So
we'll have some folks for you to talk to. A couple other podcasters that we'll listen to that we're going to connect with out there, and then some YouTube channels. We're going to go to a YouTube meet and greet and see some of the aviation YouTubers that are out there, and there's kind of a YouTuber for just about any niche of aviation you might be interested in. So we'll check that
for sure out. Great. Yeah.
Do you have any questions for us about Airventure? Being the first time guy, and you're taking a leap of faith and trusting us, but
yes, I'm just excited to be in the hands of professionals who are going to make sure I don't do anything dumb. And that's my goal.
Where are you finding those people? Because we're bringing you.
Great, yeah. No, like I said, I'm feeling very good about being along for the ride. In both Jim and I in our professional lives, we do have a lot of responsibilities, and I'm looking forward to not having any and just sort of going with the flow. And I'm happy to take orders from Jim regarding, where we should be and what we should be doing to be successful on our mission. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to just laying back and taking it in. So hopefully I add value to the team here. I'm a little worried that I might be underprepared, but
well, you're going to hate me by the end of the week. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, that's fair.
Before we let you go, I know you're not a pilot. You've probably never seen an aviation map or anything. But I'm going to share my screen here, and I just want you to take a wild guess. This is an aviation map. So we're looking at Rush Lake here, where if all the planes flying into Oshkosh for Airventure get too busy, they do a hold. They just fly laps over the lake. And to the east of it is this little UC. Now, I know you have no aviation navigation experience, but I'm just curious if you have a wild guess as to what that UC might mean.
UC. So I see 305 UC.
Here's something I'll warn you about. Bill is also very fluent in sarcasm. So,
boy, I'm having a lot of guesses come to mind, none of which are probably good for the podcast. But boy, UC, man, it seems like something related to controller. But I don't know. Luckily, I'm not actually in charge of knowing what that means. We'd be in trouble.
My favorite part of this bit is when we don't know the answer, we just make up something super sarcastic. Well, sir, we appreciate you sticking around with us tonight, and we really look forward to bringing you out to Osh, and it's going to be a good time.
Hey, is there going to be a follow-up segment to this where you guys bring me on and ask me how great it was? And
there should be. Okay. There 100% should be.
Probably about this time next year.
Okay, great. Yeah. I should be available, so.
I know where to find you.
All right, well, it was great meeting y'all, and I appreciate you letting me jump on. I'm excited. This is going to be a good week, and I'm going to have some cool new experiences, and we're all going to become best friends. I can just feel it.
So we are.
Yeah, it'll be so much fun.
Awesome.
All right, next up, we welcome listener Ryan Kruger. It sounds like you take the camping part of the venture of Airventure pretty seriously. So sounds like you guys have a pretty good group that you pulled together. Talk to us a bit about not just the logistics of how you guys make that happen, but like just what the draw is for all of you guys to bring that big group together every year.
It's families. So the group that I'm with, I started going to Osh in 2015 was my first year camping. And this group was already established. I got to know them through some flying club friends. And their family, I think this is their 25th year that they've been doing this.
Wow,
so
nice.
So they've got just a multitude of RVs. They've got trailers full of gear. They've got tents they set up. They put up palm trees. They light everything up. I think they start there the Saturday before Oshkosh starts. I don't usually get there till Sunday, Monday. It's a great spot. You can see fireworks. You can see air shows. You can sit by your own camper and have a beverage or two, whatever you want. One of my friends bought surplus seats from Midwest Express and bolted them to a trailer that he tows around with his golf cart that has lights and music. It is quite the scene. They'll roll around all the campgrounds. So I'm sure someone will see them.
That's good.
That sounds like a good time.
So Ryan, what are some of your favorite memories from Oshkosh's past?
So I started training for my private at Waukesha. And the flight school had a hangar next to this beautiful brick hangar that had a model of a P-51 as its weather vane on top. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And my flight instructor at the time, who was not the nicest person, kind of put some fear in me. He's like, yeah, that guy's kind of a jerk. He's very particular. Like, they shared ramp space. Don't park too close. He's very particular. So he has his P-51 in there. Okay, no problem. So fast forward a few years, my wife's uncle's plane broke down at Oshkosh. He ended up getting it to Waukesha, where he knew a lot of people, a lot of the jet guys that fly out of Waukesha. And the guy that owned the Mustang, Tony, came walking in one day, and he was the nicest guy. Introduced himself, invited us over the hangar, gave us a tour, sat in the P-51. Awesome. I'm just giddy. So he's the nicest guy. And as I got to know him, he invited me to the hangar. And then one day he texted me. He's like, hey, I got to take a flight to warm up the engine. I got to change the oil. Want to come along? I was like an hour away. I dropped everything, ran down to Waukesha. Absolutely, right?
That is the right answer.
That's the right answer. So Tony invited me to fly in his P-51. And I thought, holy cow, this is it. This is the pinnacle of flight training. I still hadn't gotten my private yet. I was still a student pilot. I have now reached the peak. Fast forward to later that year. This is 2019. I'm at Oshkosh in the Warbird area, and I see him walk over. Hey, Tony, how's it going? Great. Hey, I'm flying back to Waukesha. You want to hop in the back? Again, sure.
Yep.
So here I am, sitting in the back of Tony's P-51 at Oshkosh. Now, I mean, you have all seen when P-51 start up, or any Warbird. There's just a sea of people. The air show's going on. I'm sitting in the back, and there's a mass of people, and I'm like, I am now that guy. Like, I'm that guy, just sitting here, hanging out. Everyone's watching, just waiting for him to start up. So we wait for the air show to finish. He fires up, and we taxi out. I'm sitting in the P-51. There's T-6s behind us. I think there was something else behind it. I think it might have been a Corsair, and we're all getting ready to take off. Get in our spot. We take off, and he roars off. I'm thinking, okay, we'll just buzz down to Waukesha. Nope. He's like, we're going to stop by Fond du Lac first. We're going to do a flyby. Okay. So we go to Fond du Lac, and he cues up on the radio, and Blue Nose Mustang, request low approach. Which, of course, everyone says yes. So he rolls into Fond du Lac. We buzz right past the tower off the deck, doing Mach 90. And he pulls up, and we buzz out of there. And I'm thinking, okay, now we're done. We're just going to cruise to Waukesha. He's not done yet. So we're cruising to Waukesha. And it's like just all these towering cumulus clouds. There wasn't storms or anything. And he's like, see those clouds? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what do you see? I'm like, clouds? He's like, I see targets. So he rolls in and starts doing strafing runs on these puffy white clouds. I'm having the time of my life. He's pulling up, just doing G's. I'm like, it just doesn't get any better than this. And we go to Waukesha, and we land, all is well. And I'm like, oh my God, this just happened. And I had my phone with me, and I took some pictures and some video. And it was the greatest day. And sadly, later that year, Tony ended up suddenly passing away. So I didn't get to ride with him again. But that was my last ride in the P-51 was coming out of EAA. Something I will definitely never forget in my lifetime.
Wow. So while you're telling the story, you had mentioned it doesn't get any better than this, and I don't know how it would, but how, like, has that ruined all Airventures since? Like, I have to drive here now.
No, not at all.
So Ryan, is there anything in particular this year that you're looking forward to at Oshkosh?
I'm trying to make a point to be at more forums this year, so I'm looking forward to trying harder. It doesn't seem to work. I'm looking forward to.
There's so many distractions.
There's a lot of distractions. I'm looking forward to walking at Airventure again.
Oh, that's
after
right.
last year in my scooter. Yes, I had a broken foot last year. I broke my foot on June 24th, and had surgery and got that all done before Oshkosh, and still made it to Oshkosh.
That's the important part.
I was committed. I need to learn more. I can't just every year. It seems like I'm there and I get pulled in 8 different directions and like see this person. And you guys know how it is, and you see this person and you see this person. And by the time it's Saturday. Crap. Where'd the week go? It's a lot. I don't know how many days you guys are going to be there, but it goes by just so fast. And you think you have time for everything, and you don't.
Nope. Especially when you, like Maddie, let me run your schedule. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was a disaster.
Was there anything else that you're looking forward to this year?
Snowbirds.
Yes.
I've never seen the snowbirds.
They're so cool. Oh my God.
Like, I was listening to your podcast on my way up north, and you guys were talking. Like, whose podcast was it? Oh, it was yours.
What was it?
And I didn't understand how different the snowbirds are as a demo team compared to our U.S. demo team. Like they're just kind of like, sounds like they're just kind of chill, not like raw power, bust your eardrums out, like kind of things.
They're like American,
right?
No, they're very Canadian about it. They're super precise, like the Blue Angels are. They're just extremely precise. I have photos that it looks like I just copy paste. Like, it looks that neat.
I was listening to the last episode because I wasn't allowed to help interview different things.
That is not
so. The phrase he used was quintessential Canadian, and all I could think was that the show announcer was going to be like, "Oh, and here comes the snowbirds with their next pass. What do you think about them, eh?" Like, just every maneuver ends with "eh."
Having been a Airventure veteran, what piece of advice would you give to someone who's never been to the show before?
Don't try to cram everything in one day. It won't work.
Oh, yeah.
I always hear that of people like, "Oh, I'm going to come up for a day." Like,
No, you're not.
No, you're not. Definitely try to plan more than one day. Try to set yourself a schedule of places. And then if you make it to all those, all right, then try to find 5 more things that you want to go see. Utilize all the resources that they have for transportation. If you don't have to walk somewhere, don't.
Or if you can't walk somewhere, don't. And if you
Right? I mean,
Well, before we have to close up and get to actual planning for Oshkosh, we do have to do something very special to you, Ryan, and that is make you answer the questions that you may or may not know.
What do you think he's been doing the last 20 minutes?
Well,
Yeah.
it's more like a pop quiz that you didn't say.
okay.
It is.
You might even know what this thing is called.
Oh boy.
We call it the Pilot Quarters Sectional Showdown, and we are subjecting all of our guests to it.
No, not prepared.
This has been my favorite part of the night.
For sure.
Doing this, just dropping this on everybody with no warning.
Exactly.
It's kind of mean, but it's fun for us.
Okay.
We're looking just to the east of Rush Lake here, and there's this UC on the sectional. And so for the Pilot Quarter Sectional Showdown, we're asking our guests, what is the UC?
If you have to do a hold at Rush Lake, you're probably going to come down with ulcerative colitis.
Honestly, the most valid one of the night.
That's a great answer.
Because you're probably going to need a fresh pair of undies.
That's a great answer.
That wins.
Good.
Yeah, you win the night.
Yes,
Mike, you win. I think it's time. Let's tell everyone what it is.
And full disclosure, I was browsing around sectionals looking for something I didn't recognize, and I saw this, and I didn't know what it was either. I had to look it up. You bring up a good point. There's a 305 next to it in parentheses, and just above it, there's an 1195. So if you take away the UC, we all know that 1195 and 305 is the MSL and AGL height of a tower. And the UC next to it means that particular tower is under construction.
I
got under right.
Yeah.
No.
But it's not undercover.
I said it was ultra cool, but not all of that.
It's got a lot of flair or something. Well, Ryan, it's been great talking to you again. We met at Osh last year, and it was just we didn't have a ton of time to talk, but it's been great catching up with you and chat with you tonight. So thank you so much for.
It's been a blast. Thank you, guys.
For the final interview, Badger's going to sit down with his family to talk about their Oshkosh experiences.
All right, we're talking to my family about their first experience at Oshkosh last year. So I'm joined now with my beautiful wife, Katie, and our two amazing daughters, Adeline and Evelyn. We'll start with Katie. And what was it last year that got you to finally decide to come up to Airventure?
Can I say spousal pressure?
If that's what it took to get you up there, then sure.
I think just you have such a passion for flight and how much I like all the historical planes, the warbirds, having that warbird alley was really neat to see and know, and all this hype about a night show that was awesome with the misfire last year. I thought it was just, it was a lot of things that I wanted to see, and I'm glad I went.
So were the warbirds your favorite part?
I would say, yeah, probably the warbirds, the Mustangs, the T6s, and then the planes that came from Milwaukee's 128. Those are a lot bigger planes than you ever think they are unless you actually see them in person.
Yeah, definitely. And getting that local connection, too, with planes we see overhead all the time.
And I think you really enjoyed NASA, too.
Yeah. That's right. There was that old NASA pavilion, which was really kind of cool to see, too.
Girls, do you have any favorite memories or anything that stands out from last year?
Yeah. So there's like a couple things. I liked the kid venture area where like you get to learn about the different parts of an airplane or like different like activities, and then once you did like enough, you like earned to get like a cool toolbox, which I don't really use, but Dad really uses. And also I really liked the night show because it was cool that there was like fireworks and airplanes in the sky at like the same time.
And I remember there were fireworks coming out of the airplanes, I think. I thought that was pretty cool. I had never seen it before, never heard of it, so it was really cool to see that.
Another thing that I really liked was just the time that we got to do camping is because, like, even when there was a storm, we still found a way to manage to have fun. Like, we were watching Top Gun Maverick in the truck while there was lightning around. And then, but it was still really fun, and also free stuff. Yes. As much free stuff as we can.
Always free stuff.
We were on the hunt for as many free things as we could find at those little stands. One of my favorite shows was the one with the huge airplanes that like moved faster than the speed of sound. It was really loud and it was really cool. And I don't remember the name of the airplane, but it was really cool and I really liked seeing it.
Is there anything, girls, that you remember particularly about Kid Venture? Can you bring your kids to Airventure? Is there stuff for kids? What's Kid Venture all about?
With the Kid Venture, it's more like interactive, and you can like, and it's like more like interesting, I feel like, to kids. So, and me as a kid, like it
was very hands-on. It was really good for people who are kinesthetic, kind of like me. They like to make stuff with their hands. Like I remember there was a wind-powered like mini generator that where it's like if there was enough wind, it spun a wheel and then it turned on a light. That one was a very interesting one that I liked. Another one was when I got to like manufacture my own name tag. I thought that was pretty cool too. It was kind of neat
to just have that, and it looked very like professionally made.
Yeah, at Kid Adventure they have a lot of crafts and stuff to keep you busy. Like I think we were down there for like a good like
couple hours.
Yeah. It kept us busy and it was pretty fun. So like definitely if you have kids, please bring them.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
All right, so Katie, obviously the girls have a lot to say and have a lot of memories. Is there anything in particular, if you could put your finger on one thing that you remember from last year? Is there anything that stands out?
It was probably the Boeing Plaza with, the Boeing planes, but then you also had all the military planes that were there too, like helicopter. There was, you had the big tanker plane, maybe actually having like the Badger 128th refueling, having those big planes there and just being able to walk through them. So between those two, so well known, military planes are kind of iconic when it comes to these air shows. But also then you'd have like the military component where there were demonstrations by actual men and women in the service. I think when we were there that day, they were doing demonstrations with the K9.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Someone in a full-on suit. So that was, always fun to see a dog going after somebody like that. But it was really cool because then, yes, you could walk through it. You could sit in some of the seats with some of these planes. And just like I said, being a history person, I thought that was really neat.
So, and we'll gear this towards the kids. If there's any tips that you could give, either for the adults bringing kids to their first Airventure or for kids going to their first Airventure, what would be the one tip that you would give to them? And we'll start with Adeline.
Okay, the one tip. With parents, I say make sure your kids are doing two things. One, stay hydrated, and two, having a good time. Because if they're not having a good time, then there's no point.
Probably stay hydrated. Yeah. And also probably ask questions. There's also a lot of people there who like are at and they're at Airventure. There's a lot of like people who are like running the things. And if you're like curious about something or how it like works, you could ask because it's actually like really fascinating in my opinion. And it's like really cool to learn so much more. So like, yeah, like if you're curious, you should ask questions because it makes the whole trip like a lot more interesting.
So Katie, as a first timer last year, is there any advice you would give to somebody who's going for their first time this year?
Definitely wear comfortable walking shoes. But know that if you're planning there to be on the grounds more than one day, definitely know you're not going to see everything in one day. If you're only able to go for one day, plan out maybe the things that you definitely want to highlight. Look at the schedule, multiple social media outlets through EAA do post schedules daily. So it's kind of neat to see, even with the night show, they'll post a schedule. So kind of plan ahead a little bit, but also see like, this looks really interesting. This wasn't on the schedule. I want to go listen to this person talk or, explore a little bit in this building and do a hands-on activity. A bit of planning definitely helps.
And I'll give my 2 cents for anybody who's bringing their kids for the first time. If you are going by yourself and then bringing your kids up later in the week, or if you're going for a few days with your kids, definitely set aside one day where it's just geared towards what do your kids want to do, what do your kids want to see. Promise them ice cream as incentives to go to the things that you want to go to. That seemed to work pretty well for you two last year. But the name of the game is be flexible. You might be able to see 1 or 2 things a day that you want to see, but ultimately your kids are going to win that battle, and it's worth it in the end. So definitely plan some time for your kids to take charge of what you're doing. So lastly, is there anything that you girls are looking forward to this year at Airventure? And yes, Evelyn, I see you raising your hand. You can go first.
Well, something that I'm really looking forward to is how the air show, like the night show, is going to be different this year. And last year it was really, really cool. And I think I'm really excited to see how it's going to be this year. And also, I'm excited because if there's no bad weather, then I can camp both nights, like outside.
Yeah, no bad weather is never a thing in Oshkosh. There's always one night of tornadoes or big storms or something. But you saw last year, there's ways we handle it, there's ways we deal with it, and everything's fine. Adeline, what are you looking forward to this year at Airventure?
I'm looking forward to more of the shows because I thought those were really fun to watch. But I think this year I'm going to participate in the 5K.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to doing that as well because I didn't do that last year. But I think if I woke up early enough to do it and I drank enough water like the night before, I'd do it.
Okay. That's news to me, and I'm not going to do it with you, but I'll go and watch. All right, Katie, what are you looking forward to for Airventure this year?
I think depending on the day that I'm going to come up this year, really looking forward to maybe that Wednesday where Doc and Fifi are both going to be there. To have them at the same place and just have that iconic piece of World War II history would be really, really cool to see.
I just want to say that it's really fun, and I recommend that you go. If you're like choosing between, do I want to go? I have nothing going on. Should I go? Should I not go? You should go because it's really fun.
I fully agree with her. It's definitely something that doesn't happen often. It's only once a year. So I'd say if you have the time to do it, then do it. And as someone who's not exactly a plane enthusiast,
No, we can't say that on here.
as much as my husband is, once I got there and I started seeing everything, I really did get excited to be there to see all the things that were on the grounds. It really is a cool thing to see, talk to some people from all over the world that come in for this, and just a great experience to the little area of Oshkosh.
Well, I can't think of a better endorsement than that. If my wife enjoys it, then you certainly will too. So yeah, I can't wait to spend some time up at Airventure with you guys. And it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna get all the podcast stuff done at the beginning of the week so we can just hang out in the second half, and I'll walk around and buy you ice cream as incentive to get you to go to the places I want to go.
Yep. When's the day gonna be when we're in charge and where we're gonna come?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Like when's that gonna when is it?
Where you make all the decisions for the day?
We'll call it Friday. So if you see us walking around on Friday, just know my kids are in charge. I can't stop and say hi. So thank you, girls. Thank you, Katie, for coming on and sharing your experiences with us.
Bye.
No, we don't say bye. We say see ya.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
So again, a huge thank you to all of our guests who came on here tonight. We love having you on, and we love hearing what you guys have to say. So,
as I said in the intro, it is always a lot of fun to speak with our listeners, and it really fuels us. And we cannot wait to see as many of as we can throughout the course of the show. So make sure you watch all of our socials throughout the week, whether it be our Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. We'll have the meet and greet on Monday at 1:30, as a reminder, outside the EAA Blue Barn. We'll probably set up one more on Wednesday between the afternoon and night air show, unless there's storms, in which case we'll all be in the EAA museum and we can just meet there anyway. So check out our socials. Stay tuned to that throughout the week for updates on what we're up to.
Yeah, and if you can't make it out to Oshkosh, but you want to get in touch with us, you can always reach out via Facebook or Instagram. Our email address is flyingmidwestpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can check us out at our website, flyingmidwest.com. While you're there, make sure, of course, you grab all of your favorite Flying Midwest podcast or Badger Pilot merch. And make sure to hit like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff in your favorite podcast players.
And just so you know, while you're at the show, if you want to reach out to us too on any of those sources, we'll try to keep an eye on that, but we'll see how well I do.
Hence, we're going to be wearing bright colors. We'll try to stand out, and we will be loud and obnoxious, as usual. Thank you so much for listening. See you at Oshkosh. And until next time.
See ya!
See ya!
See ya!
Flight Chef 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.